Welcome to the All Facts Matter podcast, where we push back against corporate media propaganda with facts, evidence, and data. I'm Peter, the author of All Facts Matter. Let's begin. Elon Musk has certainly captured the social media spotlight with his seemingly daily revelations of reckless government spending discovered by the Department of Government Efficiency, aka the U.S. Digital Service, and in particular, indicators of potentially massive fraud within the Social Security Administration and the Treasury Department. To call Musk's claims alarming would be an understatement. If there is any substance at all to them, the level of fraud, waste, and abuse within the federal bureaucracy exceeds all easy articulation. Or rather, they would exceed all easy articulation except for one thing. Nothing Elon Musk is claiming is new or revelatory. Nearly every problem Elon Musk has brought to light has already been established and documented, frequently by the General Accounting Office, but also by various inspectors general. For all the hysterics being applied to DOGE on social media, nothing that has been uncovered is new. But that, however, is the problem. We are so accustomed to incompetence and illegality within the federal government, we no longer take notice when the usual watchdogs bark. DOGE is a new face for government accountability, and so we notice DOGE, and overlook that DOGE is surveying familiar territory. Perhaps the most incendiary tweet Elon has shared was a simple posting of a snippet of spreadsheet which listed by age bracket the number of individuals in the Social Security Administration databases with no date of death listed. With that snippet showing millions of individuals within SSA records age 100 or higher, it did not take long for that tweet to go viral. Musk's commentary certainly helped add fuel to that fire. Now, the inference here is obvious. There are millions of individuals receiving Social Security system payments who are not entitled to them. But that inference is problematic at best, and unlikely to be fully true in every scenario. The reality is that even if we take Musk's tweet at face value, it does not actually tell us much. It does not tell us who's receiving improper payments, how much improper payments are being made. However, what the tweet does do is present a problem. Because unless Elon Musk is simply making things up out of nothing, he's pointing to questionable and even tainted data within the Social Security Administration's records. While Musk's tweet is not at all the proof of massive fraud that the Twitterverse has made it out to be, it is very much an indication of the sort of record-keeping problems that facilitate fraud. Musk's tweet is also sharing a piece of information that the Social Security Administration has known for quite some time, easily a decade or more, as Tom Fitton, president of Judicial Watch, pointed out. In fact, the Office of Inspector General for the Social Security Administration issued an audit report on this very thing in July of 2023. According to the OIG report, within the SSA records, there are some 18.9 million number holders age 100 or older who are missing their death information. And at least 18.4 million of them are presumed to be deceased. Now, if this is a known issue, why hasn't anything been done to fix it? The answer is that the Social Security Administration simply decided against fixing it. The Social Security Administration decided there was no point in cleaning up the data, so they opted to leave the bad data undisturbed. Now, the SSA left the erroneous data in place because they saw no benefit in resolving it. This reasoning, however, is difficult to accept even critically, because the OIG last year released another audit report detailing that at least $71.8 billion in improper payments had been made by the SSA between 2015 and 2022. Moreover, When we look at OIG's charting of those improper payments, the problem appears to be growing. SSI overpayments in particular are increasing. While SSA does make an effort to recover the overpayments, the OIG reports that there remains at least $23 billion in uncollected overpayments. Now, how did these improper payments happen? There are many reasons, but the primary cause can be summed up in two words: insufficient controls. Now, is the SSA taking steps to address the procedural issues behind the improper payments? Not exactly. The OIG found that several of their recommendations had not been implemented, in part because the SSA simply disagreed with them. In one instance, the SSA simply had not followed through on the recommendation. Now, to be clear, when we are just reading the OIG reports, we are not discussing possible waste, fraud, or abuse. When we read the OIG reports, we are discussing proven waste, fraud, or abuse. We are discussing improper and perhaps even illegal payments that have been positively identified. Even more disturbing is the fact that, according to the OIG, the Social Security Administration has, for the last several years at least, failed an annual information security audit, with the security program being rated as not effective. Despite proof of ongoing problems of waste, fraud, and abuse, the SSA has not sought to improve its information security programs. Moreover, these are reports that predate DOGE. They predate any revelation by Elon Musk on X. These reports are public record and have been presented to Congress. These reports are, in every sense of the word, known. Yet these reports themselves indicate that recommendations made were not implemented. In some instances, they were rejected. Some may simply have been ignored. These details also are, in every sense of the word, known. Elon Musk's tweets may be theatrical. They have grabbed considerable public attention. What they are not is a revelation of any issue within the Social Security Administration not already well documented and publicized. We have known about the missing dates of death. Congress has known about the missing dates of death. This public knowledge has not produced any impetus to fix the system and correct the data. And before Elon Musk kickstarted the kerfuffle over Social Security numbers, he had previously made headlines with tweets discussing fraud within the U.S. Treasury itself. Specifically, he alleged that there could be as much as $50 billion in fraudulent payments happening every year. Now, this claim garnered particular attention as it came just as a federal judge sought to block DOGE's access to the U.S. Treasury's payment systems with the Bureau of the Fiscal Service. And as subscribers and followers will no doubt recall, it was the corporate media reporting that Musk and DOGE had been given full access to the BFS systems that had triggered just about everyone within the chattering class. At the time, corporate media was having a meltdown over DOGE having allegedly full access to the BFS systems. Musk was already challenging the adequacy of the Treasury's internal controls. We should also note that Lieutenant General Mike Flynn had, apart from DOGE, already been putting out information challenging Treasury payments to numerous organizations. Now, as I noted at the time of Musk's tweet, the magnitude of the problems at the Treasury had already been documented by the General Accounting Office. Long before DOGE even existed, the General Accounting Office confirmed in 2024 that trillions in improper payments had been made by the Treasury over the years. Forbes magazine reported last fall that 23% of the Treasury's budget was being misspent due to waste, fraud, and abuse, and cited the General Accounting Office as their source. As with the Social Security numbers, Elon Musk has not disclosed anything that even corporate media has not reported in the past. The problems at Treasury, including the inadequacy of the department's internal controls and compliance structures, have been reported at some length. Indeed, last April, the General Accounting Office estimated that fraud costs the government as much as $521 billion every year. Now, with $521 billion in losses due just to fraud annually, Elon Musk's claim of being able to find $1 trillion in savings within government spending does not seem quite so extravagant. With those kind of numbers due to fraud, much more than $1 trillion could easily be saved. But as with the Social Security numbers, nothing much appears to have been done regarding the many findings of fraud losses by the U.S. government. While various government agencies accept and concur with the GAO recommendations, those recommendations nevertheless remain open, meaning not implemented. The recommendations for more stringent fraud identification and estimation guidelines was agreed to by the Office of Management and Budget, but have not been implemented as of the GAO report's issuance. The recommendation that the Secretary of the Treasury develop more stringent tools to estimate and address fraud, as well as to prevent fraud, was accepted by the Treasury Department, yet remained unimplemented as of the GAO report's issuance. This inaction is striking because the agencies involved have not contested the GAO's report or its findings. The Office of Management and Budget even expressed support for the GAO's work in this regard. Everyone agrees there is rampant fraud within government operations, and even more waste and abuse. And yet no one has ever felt any sense of urgency about addressing the underlying issues. Let that sink in. The GAO, the government's own accounting staff, says that the federal bureaucracy loses $521 billion to fraud each and every year, and no one in the federal bureaucracy sees that as an urgent problem to be fixed urgently. Nor should we lose sight of the fact that we have been here before. DOGE is hardly the first time the government has undertaken a major government reform initiative with an eye towards rooting out the waste, fraud, and abuse. President Reagan attempted to do this in the 1980s with the Grace Commission. President Clinton and Vice President Gore attempted to do this with the National Partnership on Reinventing Government in the 1990s. And both Clinton and Gore touted the project at the time as a great success. Even President Obama has tried his hand at this when he created the U.S. Digital Service. And Obama's effort deserves a particular notice because that agency is what Trump repurposed to establish DOGE. There is a perverse irony in having an innovator such as Elon Musk tackle something as non-innovative as figuring out government efficiency. We have been through this exercise many times, and it has yet to produce lasting results. We certainly have not succeeded in preventing $521 billion in annual fraud losses. Now, it would be an extreme exaggeration to say that Elon Musk has detailed voluminous examples of waste, fraud, and abuse within the federal bureaucracy. His tweets are inflammatory, even incendiary, but as tweets, and therefore necessarily abbreviated communications, they do not provide the full factual basis for even a single allegation of fraud. Yet that is not to dismiss what DOGE has made public, and it certainly is not to demean Elon Musk. Rather, it is to acknowledge the functional limitations of a tweet. A tweet does not offer the space to provide a detailed enumeration of all the data which might support a particular claim. Even if Elon Musk were a ruthlessly methodical communicator, the text limitations of his X social media platform inevitably limits what can be readily furnished within that platform. Yet what Musk does offer up are indications of what has come off the rails within the spending habits of the US government. In other words, everything. We need to take these indications seriously, not just because of the billions and even trillions of dollars that have already been reported to be at stake, but because just these relatively few items that Musk has tweeted out justify subjecting the government to particularly rigorous examination under what might flippantly be called the M&M rule. During their heyday as a 1980s hard rock band, the group Van Halen was infamous for their outrageous behavior. And one example that is often touted as proof that the band was a group of prima donnas was the rider in their touring contract that within the amenities to be provided in the band's dressing room backstage was a bowl of M&M candies with all the brown ones removed. That this contract writer really existed has been documented. Yet it was not until frontman David Lee Roth published his autobiography in 1997 that a pragmatic and practical explanation for that unusual requirement was given. Van Halen was the first band to take huge productions into what were called tertiary and third-level markets. And so they would pull up with 18-wheeler trucks full of gear, where the standard was just a few trucks. And as a result, there were often many technical errors, either inadequacies of the stage, electrical inadequacies, or what have you. And so the band hit upon a test that in the middle of the technical aspect of the rider, an article was inserted that said there will be no brown M&Ms in the backstage area upon pain of forfeiture of the show with full compensation. As a result, if the band members saw a brown M&M in the bowl, well, they knew to line check the entire production, and that would alert them to any technical problems before they went on stage and potentially produced a life-threatening situation. Now, whether Roth's explanation is true remains a matter of eternal conjecture. But whether it is true or not, the operative logic is both simple and undeniable. The bowl of M&Ms presumably provided the band members with a quick sanity check to ensure that the tour promoter had read the contract in full, including all the technical specifications for the stage setup. If there were brown M&Ms, they knew that the contract writer had not been read in detail. And thus the question has to be asked, what else did they overlook? We need to be applying similar logic to Elon Musk's tweets regarding DOGE's work. We need to be treating Musk's tweets as brown M&Ms and asking ourselves, what else has gone off the rails in government spending? The numerous GAO and OIG reports detailing various instances of fraud alone assure us that quite a bit within government spending has gone off the rails. The inability of the SSA to pass an information systems security audit assured us that quite a bit within government spending has gone off the rails. There is no reason to presume that the $521 billion in fraud losses reported by the GAO is all the fraud losses that there might be within government spending. There is no reason to presume the $72 billion in improper payments by the SSA in recent years, identified by the OIG, are all the improper payments that were made. We do not know if that is the case because we cannot know if that is the case. We cannot know because what we have already is conclusive proof that there are multiple serious failures of internal controls within multiple agencies within the U.S. government. What we do know is that the problems DOGE is revealing have been around literally for decades. What we do know is that prior presidents from both parties have recognized that there were problems and sought to correct them, and largely failed. What we do know is that our government's record-keeping practices are atrocious to the point of incompetence. Criminal negligence is not an extreme term to be applied here. What we do know is that Congress and the federal bureaucracy have had little to no interest in confronting these inadequacies. On that basis alone, Congress has been an abysmal failure as a steward of the public fisc. And all 535 members of Congress should be ashamed and humiliated at what is being known about the state of the U.S. government's finances. It is their obligation to both prevent these things from happening and to remedy them when they do happen. And they have failed in both aspects. Neither Elon Musk nor DOGE is telling us anything we did not already know. And that's the problem. Will this time be the time that something is finally done to correct the government's serial information handling inadequacies? Hopefully, the answer is yes. I want the answer to be yes. I fear the ultimate answer will be something other than yes. And that concludes this presentation. I hope you found this podcast helpful and informative. Please like it and share this with your friends. Word of mouth is how I publicize my work. Please also consider making a one-time donation or becoming a paid subscriber to All Facts Matter. Your support is what keeps this work going, and I greatly appreciate all of my subscribers. Without you, this work would have no meaning. I encourage everyone to be especially generous with feedback. Leave a word or two in the comment section so that we can keep the discussion going and that we may learn from each other. Thank you all for listening, and have a nice day.